Hi. So today I thought I was going to do a bit of an interesting top 10 actually. I'm going to be doing a list which could be very controversial, and it is going to be, in my opinion, the top 10 most overrated movies that I've seen. This is where it gets interesting for me, is because when I say the most overrated movies, this doesn't mean that the movies are bad per se. There are some movies on this list that I do think are bad and I don't understand the love for them at all. There are some movies which I think are okay and don't understand the love, and there are some movies that I love, but I don't understand the sheer amount of love that it gets. So I'll just be judging off of how much positive attention a movie gets, and yeah, I think it's just kind of like, I'll be using it as a basis on how the general love differs with my personal enjoyment of the movie. So let's get into it. So coming in at the number 10 spot is a movie that I really enjoyed, and it is the 2018 horror film by Ari Aster, Hereditary. And I think the reason that I think this is so overrated is just because of how many people continuously just cream over it all the time. Everybody seems to think that this is one of the greatest films ever because of how well it mixes grief and depression with horror. And basically, if you dare say a word against this movie, you're fucked. Like, you cannot talk any shit about this movie. And that's the thing, I think this is a really good movie. I think it's very well made, it's scary, it's got some awesome actors, but I don't think it's the sheer unbeatable masterpiece that it's made out to be by a lot of people. A lot of people refer to Hereditary as elevated horror, which is a term that really pisses me off because it's so arrogant. I really hate it, and I hate the people that think that elevated horror is the only kind of horror that only die-hard horror fans can handle. It almost just seems as though, like, it's just an arrogant term that I just hate because it's just disregarding everything else and saying, you know, that's for the superior people. It's just annoying. So yeah, it's a very good movie and I very much enjoy it, but it's massively overrated. Number 9, we have a crime thriller kind of westerny sort of thing. I don't know what it is, but it's 2007's No Country for Old Men. And I genuinely enjoyed this movie very much. It's a good crime thriller. I don't really have much else to say about it. It's nothing special, it's just a solid movie. But again, people just love this movie. I'm not sure why, they just love it so much. It's in the top 100 films ever on Letterboxd. I'm not sure what people like so much about it, but alright. I think that I'd give this movie 3 to 3.5 stars. I watched it quite a while ago, and when I first watched it, I gave it 3 stars, but I'm thinking if I were to give it a rewatch, I'd probably bump it up to 3.5 stars because it's kind of grown on me over time. And I thought when we first watched it that on Letterboxd, the average rating, like most people would have given it 3 stars. The big spike would have been right in the middle. But no, the spike was right at the end. I'm like, what? And so yeah, it's a very good movie, but Jesus Christ. At number 8, we have another movie that I really liked, and it was The Dark Knight in 2008. Now, this is another good movie. It's no masterpiece, it's by no means extraordinary, it's just a good movie. But people treat this movie like it is the king shit. It's the 18th highest rated movie on Letterboxd of all time. As of when I'm recording this, 350,000 people have given it 5 stars. Like, it's a good movie, but Jesus, the 18th best movie ever? There's just no way in hell or no way in any world that I would give this movie 5 stars. A lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, when The Dark Knight first came out, I came out of the theater like, holy shit, that was such a good movie. I just don't get it. I don't. And again, it's a very good movie. But it's nothing more than that. That's what I'm trying to say, basically. At number 7, we have Saw. And this is the part of the list where my feelings towards the movie start to alter, and that's starting with Saw. As much as I love the Saw franchise, I'm not a fan of the first Saw. Most people consider this to be the best movie in the franchise, but I put it as the third worst in my ranking video, and there's 9 in total. I'm just so unsure of how this movie made such an impact when it first came out. It's a messy, repetitive, boring pile of shit, and it has a really bad ending. And again, most people think the ending is awesome, but it hardly makes any sense. Like, it's just like, ignore a bunch of plot holes and stuff like that. Just go with it. And even when they try explain it in Saw 3, that they don't even cover it up properly at all. It was just a stupid ending. I'm not going to go on any longer about this movie, but I think it's pretty terrible, honestly. I'm going to be careful with this next one, because at number 6 I have Back to the Future, which was released in 1985. One of those, it was somewhere, I don't know. Anyway, I saw this movie and it was so generic. I just don't really know what else to say, because it was just a very 80s action sci-fi movie, which, I don't mind, but like, it's... I just think that this one, like, I understand, it obviously made a splash when it first came out, but it just never did it for me. There's nothing there's nothing that I straight up dislike about it. It's just that I found it to be so okay. You know what I'm getting at? Let's just move on. Number 5, we have a 2019 film, which actually was one of the most disappointing movies I've ever watched, because it started so well and just devolved into absolute silliness. It's Knives Out. Now, I know a lot of people love this movie, and I wish I did too, but I don't. I just found it to be a brilliantly set up movie. Just actors were just fantastic. The music was awesome. The setting was awesome. Everything looked so cool. The framing device where you had, like, the whole interview open for like the first 20 minutes. It was so good. But then they introduced this character who should have had a very, very minor role in the movie. But they decided to make her the lead character because she has like a lie detector inside of her, so the detectives can't speak to her, and she can't answer any questions without telling the truth, because if she lies, she gets all bukey. It was so disappointing. It just seemed like such a lazy device to me. I just thought it was really silly. I thought it was dumb. I thought it was bad, and that's the thing. People just seem to love that side of it, but I thought she was the most boring character there. And I'm sorry, Daniel Craig's Kentucky Fried fucking accent is horrible too. It was At number 4, we have a Stanley Kubrick classic from 1957. It's called Paths of Glory. This is a generic anti-war film. And yes, I get it. It's one of the first ones that actually, crossed the boundaries of war and took us into the trenches and shit. But like, that doesn't mean it's any good. Like, I don't really care if it was innovative, because it wasn't good. It was just people arguing and bawling and sulking, and it was just a bad movie. It was just, I don't understand the love for it. It's an anti-war movie. The only thing it had in store was to tell us that war is bad, which I still don't get with anti-war movies, because because we really need to be told how bad war is, because so many of us think that it's a good thing. Like, I love war. I mean, maybe I should have it reinforced about how bad it is by showing people getting... I won't dive into spoiler territory if you haven't seen it, but it doesn't really matter, because I don't recommend that you watch it anyway, because it's not very good. It's not very good. At number 3, we have the 1996 seminal horror comedy classic by Wes Craven, Scream. Now, I'm not going to say too much here because I've actually got a video planned in the future where I'm going to be talking about Scream quite in depth about why I hate it, and I'm going to be rational about it. But to make it short, I hate the meta humor, I hate the characters, I hate the attempt at comedy. I think all the kills, almost all the kills, not all the kills, that was a lie. I take that back. Almost all the kills are just boring knife stabs. The ghost face reveals are always really stupid. Sydney Prescott is a boring as fuck main character. She's not a good final girl at all. I hate Scream. I'll talk about it another time. I really can't. I can't even right now. At number 2, we have Train to Busan, which was released in 2016, and it is a zombie movie. And in Train to Busan, there are zombies on a train, and zombies on the train chase people, and when they're not chasing people, it's a whole bunch of social commentary. And it's terrible. Oh, I hate that movie. It's more just like 2.5 hours, what was I saying? 2 hours of just people being chased around on the train by a bunch of zombies, and I just find zombies so tiring because they're not interesting. The characters are never good because it's always just, you know, you've always got there's always one inexplicable bad guy that's, you know, sacrifices others for himself. There's always the one inexplicable good guy that sacrifices himself for others. It's just so rinse and repeat, and I don't care if movies aren't doing something new, but please, for the love of fucking Christ, make it interesting at least. Oh, God. And Train to Busan is actually the last movie on this list that I absolutely hated. I hated it. Was so shit. But my number 1 pick is a movie that I kind of enjoyed. So let's get to it. And yes, at my number 1 spot is the very, 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 very highly acclaimed The Usual Suspects. I'll admit to being able to sit down and watch this one and not complain too much. Like, okay, I could do that. But this is like, I don't know where this ranks in IMDb's top 100, but I know for a fact that it's very, very fucking high. And I just think it is a boring, messy, shitty, dumb, worthless movie. I just don't understand why this movie... I don't understand what it's trying to accomplish. It's like... I don't want to give away spoilers because it's just... If you know what I mean, like, by the ending of this movie is just awful, and I don't know how to frame this without spoiling it, but basically the movie itself seems messy, and then the screenwriters after a while were like, oh shit, it's too messy, let's try and make it not messy anymore, and all they did was just make it more messy. It was just it was just a bad movie. I just don't understand. As I said, I can sit down and watch it and be fine, but to actually, like, you know, put this like near one of the top movies ever on IMDb, like, holy shit. Like, it's pretty bad. And I think Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like an 89 or something like that. And I gave it a very, very generous 3 stars because it was messy, the characters weren't interesting, the big mob boss above it was like, you know, not even slightly threatening, and in fact, he was just there for practically no reason. I mean, he obviously was there kind of for a reason, but like at the same time, it just felt so... Okay, this is the thing. I'm fine with pointless movies, But this movie felt extremely pointless. Like, I could not figure out any reason why this kind of a movie needed to exist. I can't. Okay, that's enough. So, that's my video on my top 10 most overrated movies of all time. I'm curious to see if you agreed with me or not, because you probably wouldn't, because, you know, I'm bound to piss someone off when I'm making videos talking negative things about beloved movies, but I'll see you later.